Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Yes She Can project. I'm delighted to say that I am joined by the gorgeous Charlotte. Hello, Charlotte.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. For anyone who doesn't know, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do, please?
Of course. So my name's Charlotte Tobin. I am the founder and managing director of Bell PR. Bell PR is a London-based public relations agency, and we specialise in talent and brand public relations. And on top of that, we do a lot of charity work for lots of different causes that are close to my heart and actually close to the hearts of my clients, my staff, and my external team. So yeah, we do brands, we do talent, and we do charity, and we've been going about 7 years now.
Wow. So what would you say has been your motivation for wanting to launch your own PR agency? Because from my research, you did actually go to university because you were going to be a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. So I did a history degree at Sheffield University with the aim of being a lawyer, and I took a bit of a swerve away for lots of different reasons. I like to think I'd have been a very good lawyer, but actually something was missing for me. I love the idea that, as a lawyer, you can fight for people and it's all kind of rooted in justice. I love that. And actually in what I do now, it's very, very similar in terms of, I always like to think I do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's a job that involves a lot of protection. So actually there are similarities, but no, I took a swerve. I went into public relations, got an internship at my first agency and worked my way up from literally intern to the head of PR very quickly. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the buzz. I loved the fact I could use my writing skills from my degree, but I also loved that I could communicate with lots of different types of people from all over the world. I loved really the fact that I could change someone's fortunes, and I don't just mean financially, or a brand's fortunes myself. From the emails that I sent and the conversations I had, I could really change lives, and I found that really, really empowering. So yeah, I learned very quickly what PR was. I got trained up and then became head of PR at my first agency. Then I went to another brilliant agency in London, which I loved, working on big international brands and talent again. And then I set up on my own about 7 years ago. But I didn't have some sort of divine intervention to set up on my own. I'll be really honest with you. I was actually had a meeting with my accountant earlier, and I always say, it's kind of happened by accident for me.
Yeah.
My
last accident.
Yeah, a really happy accident. I think I genuinely thought I could do it better than what was out there. I wanted to change the system of how I worked, and I couldn't do that where I was. Obviously, they had a brilliant system and it worked for them. But for example, I couldn't work with small businesses, I couldn't work with startups, and I couldn't work with breaking artists because I couldn't really afford PR. So I just came up with the idea, well, actually, if we work on a day rate system, then the very big talent and brands can afford us, but also the very small or breaking out people, brands, charities, whatever they may be. Anyway, so I did, I did that straight away, and we're still doing that now. We've still got a day rate system. We've still got very big brands. We've still got smaller growing brands and everything in between. Same with talent. We've got very, very famous people on our books, but we've also got very, very talented upcoming artists or sports stars or presenters, whatever they may be, chefs, experts, So we've got the same system as we did 7 years ago. So in answer to your original question, I never kind of sought out to have my own business. I just genuinely believed I was good at something. I could offer something better than the market provided, and I could do it slightly different. And I think they're the reasons why I went for it.
Well, how scary was it though, to have worked your way up in some big companies, to actually take the leap and think to yourself, I can do this on my own, you know, from going with having because it's a comfort, isn't it? It's essentially, it's a backbone for you to be working for somebody else. How scary was it to take the leap and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this on my own?
Very. And again, you know, I read all these business books about how someone, you know, was born to do it or knew they were going to do it. That just wasn't the case for me.
Right.
And actually, it was very, very scary. And I'll be really honest about that. And anyone thinking about it, you know, I will always tell them the realities.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing it on your own, it's very, very lonely. I'm like, I'm going to my 8th year next year. I'm still really lonely sometimes, making big decisions and running the company. And listen, I've got an amazing number 2, Megan, who works alongside me. So obviously she, you know, kind of fills a lot of the gap and the loneliness I felt in the first few years. But the reality is the buck stops with me. I'm still making the big decisions, whether they're financial, whether they're crisis comms. And it can be quite a lonely place. So, you know, I think it was very scary. I didn't have the luxury of loads of money in the bank. I just didn't. I had a laptop. I had, you know, a dream. I had my kitchen table and I worked really hard. Also, it made, I think for my situation, I didn't leave a horrendous, you know, you hear a lot of stories. I left an awful job to create my new life. I wasn't in that, you know, I wasn't in that position. I had a brilliant job. I was 26 years old. I was on a really, really good salary, working with amazing people, with 2 amazing bosses called Nick and Nick, based in Soho. Nick and Nick, amazing men, you know, I loved working with them. I had a great team and I worked on some of the biggest brands in the world. You know, I was leaving that for nothing, essentially.
Well, I think that makes it even more of a bold decision for you, because it's not like you've got the shove, is it?
Well, I was going to say, I would obviously say that because that's my experience, but I would say for me, I wasn't leaving, you know, people would say I had nothing to lose. I hated my job anyway. That wasn't the case for me. You know, I grew up, had really humble beginnings, you know, working class family, working middle class family, state school, you know, just very, very normal life. So for me, I'd hit jackpot at 26. So actually me doing, kind of taking the leap out of that, like you say, that comfort, that brilliant job, you know, at 26 was a big deal for that reason. But no, I still believed I had something to offer, something different, something new, something fresh. But yeah, very, very difficult in those early days. And what I would say, just my last thing on this, someone said to me in the early days, don't worry, you'll have to work really, really hard for 2 years and then it will just click. Well, when 2 years came, I was waiting for that magical day for it to click. And I'm telling you now, it didn't come. It took much longer than 2 years for me to feel safe and comfortable and wow, this is easy. It's not easy now, you know.
Even after all this time.
Yeah. So you have to really, really want it. You know, you have to want it so bad that you sacrifice so much, you know, whether it's financial, whether it's with your friendships, your family, your relationships, you know. And I gave up my 20s to devote myself to my working career, and that's a big sacrifice that not many will take. And you know, whatever you're thinking and wherever you are in life, starting a business, you have to realize that the sacrifices are just so huge. And
it becomes all encompassing, doesn't it, in a way that you can't possibly describe to somebody else that's not in the same situation.
Absolutely, of course it does. And actually, like PR as a career choice, it's also a lifestyle choice. You know, every interview that I have someone, I say, you know, you're not here just for a job interview, really. You're here to really think about what lifestyle you want to. Some jobs you can, genuinely go in at 9, leave at 5. And that's great. And never be bothered on your annual leave, you know, never have to come in late or get a call early. But that isn't the reality of my world. You know, I work in the press, I work in the media, newspapers are printing every day. Sky News is on every minute of the day. So
it's like 24/7, isn't it?
Instagram. we don't get to turn off because the world doesn't turn off. So I think it's a lifestyle choice as well as a career choice, and that's on top of having your own business. So I think it's a bit of a double whammy.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people can get fooled into thinking it's the starry eyes thing, isn't it? It's, oh, I want to work for myself, I think it's going to be fantastic, I can pick my own hours. But the reality is so different.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I laugh when people say that. You know, they'll say, "Oh, you can just take Friday off." I'm like, well, I could. I'm not going to, because I've got X amount of bills to pay for, and I've got overheads, and I don't want to lose that client, or I want this client. You know, yeah, it doesn't work like that. And I actually, you get more time off, genuine, worthy time off, working else, I believe, in my experience, than you do with your own business, you know. And that's such a, you're right, it's a big myth that you get to I mean, I guess in theory you get to choose, but in reality you definitely don't.
Not if you want it to be successful. I mean, you can choose to be off all the time if you like, but
of course, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So you've got now, Charlotte, you've got an all-female team at Bell PR. What do you think the benefits of that are?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm really proud of them all as individuals, as females, of course. You know, they're all such strong, intelligent, charismatic young women, all with different stories. Some have degrees, some don't have degrees. Some come from working class backgrounds, some come from, you know, slightly more, you know, well-to-do backgrounds. They're all very different, but their core values are the same. I trust them all. They're all very kind people. They all grow with collaborative thought. So for example, I'll walk in the office every day and they'll say, "Oh my goodness, look at what Lucy's just done, Charlotte." They'll be the first to praise others. So they've all risen. You know, I always love the phrase, "all ships rise in high tides." And I make that really clear with my team. Like, we will all rise together. And it's exactly the same with my team. So as females, they're amazing. As, you know, as young women, they're all amazing. You know, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that I have a team so strong as they are, and I trust them implicitly, and they've helped me grow the company. You know, I could not have got to where I've got to without them. I think in PR there's a big problem with diversity. You know, I'm at the moment I'm working with a brilliant foundation called the Taylor Bennett Foundation, and they their sole purpose is to encourage BAME candidates into the communications industry. And at the moment we will have, you know, paid work experience placements via the Taylor Bennett Foundation, which is brilliant, because the sad state of affairs is there's not as many BAM candidates coming through into PR agencies and internal and otherwise. So I'm trying to do my bit there. Hopefully other agencies are going to do the same and follow. But it's actually brilliant because there are a lot of strong women in the industry. And actually that's a great thing. When, you know, I read, I don't know if you've read it, it's a brilliant book, Mary Portas. I think it's called Work Like a Woman. It's a brilliant.
I don't think I have read it, no, but I will.
Brilliant eye-opening book about how, well, it's a depressing book about how, you know, as women, we are so disadvantaged in so many ways. So, you know, I read that book and then I look at my team every day and think, wow, you know, haven't we done well? And, you know, I'm really proud.
Definitely. Oh, and the way that you talk about them as well, it must be so wonderful to work for you, because you don't get many bosses that are proud of people as individuals, if that makes sense. That shows that you have a really special relationship, and it must be amazing for them to be able to work for somebody like you, because you don't find that often. I think that's another one of your USPs, because you're making the work environment nice, you know.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think we're a small team, so we're quite close,
Yeah.
and we work hard, but we also like to do, I'd like to do nice things with them. I'd love, I'd like to go out for a drink after work. And I just said to them, let's book a quiz night, because it's so intense. It's important for us to appreciate life as well. And life in the city, we're based in central London and we work really, really hard. So I want to appreciate them and I want to recognize all of them. But as I said before, they're all very different. So I would never judge them. Obviously, I've got my own standards. Obviously, there are certain criteria you need to hit and they're all at different levels, but I judge them all individually because they're all different human beings, and they all work and change at different levels and different paces. So I really do have to notice in like the individuals for what they are, but collectively they're brilliant as a team.
Yeah, they see it. It sounds like from the way that you describe their different personalities, like some are quiet, some are louder. It's almost like each of them brings their own special thing to the table, which creates an amazing team throughout all of you.
Yeah, exactly. They all bring their own little sparkle of magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long was it, would you say, that you felt the need that you had to obviously hire staff? Because you did start the company by yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, and that was really, really tough. Very humbling for me, because I went from being head of PR and then PR director, where I had big teams, doing the junior work for me, whether it's the scanning or the packing up samples or selling in. And then I was doing the big strategy stuff and the big meetings. I had to go back to basics. I had to do every job in the team on my own from my kitchen table. So actually bizarre, it sounds weird, but I did enjoy it. Like I loved it. I kind of always loved going back to basics and doing everything again. I was across everything, but I couldn't sustain it for too long. I would say after about a year, probably a bit less, I took on someone part-time. Then they went to full-time. And then pretty much I've hired one person a year since I started. So we've been going 7 years and there are 7 of us. So and I didn't want a big agency, who knows what will happen in the future, but I didn't aim to have 80 people, under me over the next 10 years. That wasn't the aim. The aim was to have a really, really good small business delivering brilliant results, great value for money, loyal. We don't have contracts, so loyal clients, loyal team, and that's honestly what would have made me happy, and that's what I've got now. So we might scale up. There might be 10 of us, when we next chat, but my aim was never to have the biggest. It was probably just to have the best. So, and that will still be quite small. I'm not greedy like that. I just want to do what we do really well and love coming to work every day.
And I think that's why, because you're sticking to the true roots of the reason why you started the business. I think if you were to scale massively, then you wouldn't really be able to nurture exactly what you're trying to do right now and what you're delivering to your clients, because it would kind of filter out, wouldn't it?
Well, I would lose one of my main USPs. So you're exactly right. Yeah.
That's true. So I also found out, excitingly, Bell PR is multi-award winning, and you also featured on the 30 Under 30. How surreal was that?
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm a bit of a geek, a big geek, to be honest. I love awards. I think it's that official recognition from your industry peers.
Yeah.
Right? That means so much when you've worked so hard. For someone else that you respect, whether that's PR Week or the PRCA, saying, you know what, you're really good. Honestly, that means everything. When you've been doing 18 hours at a desk on your own, especially during COVID in the early days, to get recognized by industry peers is just amazing. And then it's extra special for me to see my team getting nominations and like on finalist lists for their own awards, because it's proving that they're also excellent at what they do as well as the company. But So I love awards, the accolades are brilliant. And I think talking in a business sense, it means a lot to new clients to know that we have been recognised and we have that authority. And again, we have that kind of stamp of approval. I think if you were never to know who I was or who we were, you know, who Bell PR, you know, who we are, what we do, you would see that we have been recognised for excellence. And I think that matters, you know, that matters just straight off the bat if you're looking at our website.
It's a trust thing straight away, isn't it? It builds that instant trust because you're recognised from outside.
Exactly that. And then 30 under 30 was amazing because when I look back now, I think I was 26 when I started the business. I mean, that's young. Yeah. That's really, really young. And I almost appreciate it now. I mean, I celebrated it at the time, believe me, but now I'm in my early 30s. I think, wow, you know, it's extra special. But no, it was brilliant. And a big celebration for me and something I still, you know, talk about and I still appreciate. And again, to be recognised on kind of that kind of top 30 list, you know, with other amazing people who've gone on to do brilliant things. It was just mind-blowing, really. And actually, something that happened last year, I was the only Brit to be on the Business Insider top publicist list. And I was the only Brit on there, which is unbelievable. I mean, obviously, you know, it's amazing, but I just absolutely couldn't believe it to be listed amongst all these brilliant publicists in New York and LA. And yeah, that was a really special moment. But
so literally number one in Great Britain, you are. That is mental.
Well, according to that article, yes. But I would never claim that because there's so many other brilliant publicists. A lot of them are my friends. You know, I think that, you know, listen, credit where credit's due. If I think someone's a good publicist, even if they're my competitor, I'll tell the world about them. You know, I give a lot of them work because there's plenty of work to go around all of us for a start. And actually, it's a small world. So the chances are I will have to work with one of them for another project, you know. But no, they're all brilliant, you know, and I love working with them all, even though they're competitors. So hopefully this year's list, there'll be a few of them on the list as well. Honestly, I'm like, you know, I don't always want that. It's lovely to be the only one, but hopefully this year, a few more Brits will be on it.
Yeah, definitely. So you're spreading the success. I think that's really important, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
So if we can just talk about the event side of your business, it's something I've always wondered about because you see online, say if it's a launch or something like that, you see and it always looks so beautiful, so polished, so perfect. What is the reality like behind the scenes? Is it like you could imagine some crazy bridezilla and you're all running around with headsets on and things, or?
I mean, I've seen it all. I've seen chaos behind the scenes, and I've seen calm cucumbers, you know, behind the scenes running the show. I mean, I like to think, obviously, any event we do, we're super organized, we're super calm, we're super on it, you know, naturally, because I've been doing it so long now and exactly what you need to do and when, etc. But the reality is, last minute problems happen. Someone might not be turning up. It might be an outdoor event and it starts to rain and you haven't got any umbrellas. You know, there's always something.
What do you do in that situation?
Well, I mean, you would run out and buy a load of umbrellas, but but no, like your main A-list star who's cutting the ribbon is stuck on the M25. You know, there's so many different situations that can go wrong, or they might get pictured when their dress is blown up in the wind, and that's a picture that's going to land in all the newspapers rather than the charity that they're supporting that night. So it's really difficult to answer that question. Basically, I've seen everything under the sun in terms of events. It can be chaos. I've been in weird and wonderful situations. You know, like a client's dress might rip. There I am sewing up a dress. I don't know how to sew, you know, so
I'm a seamstress now.
Absolutely. Like, as a publicist, you're everything. You know, you are literally, you have to kind of just mold into every type of role. But excuse me. I think on the whole, over 10 years in the job, not much I haven't seen. You know, it's my job to have a grip on that situation. It's my event. If something goes wrong, I will solve it. My team will solve it. So no one else knows something's going wrong. And it's a classic analogy where, like, you always want to be a swan gliding across your legs are paddling like mad underneath. And again, that's just strength of character. I've obviously got that plus years of experience, so it takes a lot to kind of throw me or stop me. And I think my junior girls, they just need to learn from us. They need to watch, and need to learn, and the more events they go to, the more they will improve. But they're all brilliant, to be honest. You know, they've all just got it. You know, they're super calm under pressure, of course. You know, otherwise, you know, you're in the wrong job. But
totally.
But no, events are really interesting, and often I'm going to a lot of events that they're not mine. I'm going with a client as their plus one. I'm doing the red carpet. I'm organising the pictures. I'm doing all the interviews. So the event side of the business aren't all just my events. Sometimes I can just put a nice dress on, and yes, it's definitely still work, and I'm on it. So, you know, I'll very rarely drink. I will be, you know, making sure from the minute they get in their car on the way there to the minute they're putting the car on the way back, I'm, you know, 100% on. However, they're lovely events. They're the Pride of Britain Awards. They're the NTAs. You know, these are events that 10 years ago I'd have loved to have gone to, and now I'm getting invites. So I really do, and I appreciate being in a room with really special people. I mean, Pride of Britain, you're in a room with some incredible inspirational people, human beings. So you know, I really have to always remind myself that in the chaos, when I've got 15 people on a red carpet and I'm freezing cold and my lips have gone blue,
and your knees are knocking.
And I've got my high heels on. I'll be standing up for 3 hours. But in an hour's time, I'm going to be sitting with a glass of wine, watching the most amazing music act at the Brits, or at Pride of Britain, watching an amazing hero get their rightful awards. So, events are great. They're interesting. They're sometimes chaotic, but part and parcel of what the job is.
It's just so fun, because every day is different, and you don't know who you're going to meet. I bet it's brilliant.
Yeah, they've got some great stories. Honestly, I could write a whole book on just events. I'm telling you.
You should.
Haven't got time.
So with that in mind, I bet, like we said, I bet you get to meet such an eclectic mix of lots of different people. Playing devil's advocate, has there ever been anybody, obviously I won't ask you to name names, but has there ever been anybody that's requested to work with you that you've known instantly, this is not for me, I just don't think this is going to work?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yes, I have. And actually, that's not just a reflection on them, actually. It's just you meet some people in life and you just don't think you're a good match. Yeah. And that could just be a personality thing. That could also mean so they're coming to you asking you for something you know you can't deliver. Right. You know, I would never take on a client, you know, with, you know, I want to be on the cover of Vogue next month. Mm-hmm. And if I say you can't, for lots of different reasons, respectfully, and they say, well, that's what I want, then I'm never going to take that on. So sometimes it could be a personality thing. Sometimes it could be just, you know, their wishes are beyond what anyone could do, let alone what I could do. And you know, obviously sometimes you just, you know, you might have heard X, Y, Z, but I will always make my opinion when I meet them. I will always meet someone. I will always be gracious. I'll always give them good advice. I have to say, I've met a lot of people and I've just given them good advice and said, you know what, you don't need me, but you need this person. Well, you don't need me. What you actually need is a really good digital marketeer, or actually you need a PA, you know? So, you know, I'll always have that coffee. I'll always, you know, kind of be very honest and go in good grace. And like I say, I know a lot of other brilliant publicists, brand and talent. So they might not be right for me, but they might be brilliant for somebody else. Yeah. And the other thing is, I wouldn't really take on someone that's a major clash with someone else on my roster. Okay. So if they were too similar for whatever reason, and I felt I would genuinely feel they'll be going after the same opportunities,
Right.
then it's the right thing for both of us, for me to say, I'd love to work with you, whether I would or not. And actually normally I would actually like to work with these people, but I can't. That's not fair on my current client, that's not fair on them. And actually when there's a brilliant publicist who could do this, the same as me, and
it makes sense to send them to them.
Yeah. And I also think those honest conversations, people respect them. I know a lot of people now that I don't look after, I see them a lot because they come to my events, we pay them to do brand work, or they might be a face of our brand, or whatever that looks like. I might just see them out and about. Yeah. And they really respect the fact that I didn't just say yes, take their money, and have to kind of split them with someone else. I just wouldn't do that. That's not in my nature.
Mm-hmm. And it's not what your company is about either, is it? It's about doing things differently and coming from, for example, from my point of view, from a small independent brand, PR, when I think of a PR agency, I always think it's so out of reach for me, because you always assume that they'll only ever work with like the likes of big brands, or talent, or people with thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers. I think it's amazing that, like, just our conversation, I feel like, well, actually Belt PR could be really useful to my business. And the fact that you are willing to work with small businesses and stay true to the ethos behind your brand, I think is just fantastic.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. And look, I think some of my biggest brands now were my smallest brands 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So look at brilliant, iconic makeup brand.
Yeah.
When Jade, the founder, launched that brand from her bedroom in Essex, it was a tiny idea, a few products. We got it on Kim Kardashian. We then get it in all the magazines. It blows up. Yeah. And the business was sold 2 years ago for a lot of money. And now it's one of the biggest makeup brands to come out of the UK. And it's obviously now global, and it's amazing, with millions of followers and sales and all the rest of it, and Harvey Nichols. But that's I love working with startups, because that makes the whole journey so special. Of course, I love working with the big brands. It's great to take a big brand and keep them big, but there's something super special about taking something that's small or homegrown, listening to someone's vision and say, I think I can help take you there. It might take 3 years, it might take 2 years, it might take 5 years, but you can get there if you want it bad enough. So that's what's really special. Some of my biggest brands now were my smallest brands 2 years ago, and it's lovely. Yeah,
I shall definitely be sending you an email later.
Please.
So what would you say has been the highlight so far for you? I bet there's so many to pick from.
Highlight. I have to, it's going to sound really wishy-washy and cliche. I'm just really chuffed to have loyal clients that have stuck with me, that have seen, me grow and the business grow. Yeah. Loyalty is huge to me in terms of clients and in terms of my team, and the fact that my team have been loyal, from the word go all the way through COVID until now. The fact my clients, touch wood, we've got such a high client retention rate. They've all been super loyal. I mean, a huge proud moment for me was to sign for my office in Covent Garden. We've got one of the best postcodes in London, probably the country, and I'm looking around my office now thinking, I can't believe this is mine.
But so well deserved though.
Oh, well, thank you. So, I think, the wishy-washy answer would be the fact that my clients and my team have been loyal and helped me grow. But I think a tangible answer would be signing for my Covent Garden office, because that was a major dream. And I've had a lot of smaller offices before this one. This was the dream office. But I didn't get this straight away. I mean, it took me 6 years to ever be in a position to look around an office like this. So I would say it's probably like, you know, I got my parents up and we went out for dinner to celebrate that day. And they couldn't believe it either. So, yeah, that I would say.
No, I mean, your first answer about loyalty isn't wishy-washy at all. I think that's one of the most important things that you can have in your entire life is loyalty. It's the thing that means the most to you as a human, isn't it? Really, having people that you know that you can rely on, whether that be clients or your team. I think it's a fundamental part of what makes us happy as humans, isn't it?
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I'm a Scorpio, so it's one of our star signs. Are you a Scorpio?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So you'll know all about this, but not that I would ever. Sometimes I think people overuse their star sign. Maybe I'm one of them, but I think loyalty has always been quite high up on my agenda, whether I did PR or not. But yeah, I think it's really, really important, and obviously trust and all the other brilliant characteristics that you want with people, you know, around you. But yeah, I think for me, because we don't have contracts, these people, like any of my clients, could walk out the door, you know, whenever they want to, but they stay. That makes me feel really, really happy, and it makes me know that I'm doing something right.
And they're staying because they want to. They're not staying because they have to. They're not staying because they're tied in. They're staying because you're doing a job that's so good for them that they believe in you and trust you. Exactly. That's wonderful. What are your aspirations and goals for Belle PR, but also for you as a person for the future?
So I think Belle PR continue to grow as we are. You know, I imagine, like I've, you know, said before, I can imagine us having maybe 10 of us rather than 7, for example, and scaling up that way. In terms of the business structure and clients, honestly, if it was like this in a few years' time, I'll be so happy. You know, if we keep the clients we've got, work with a few other talent, a few other brands, very, very happy. In terms of myself, I want to work as much as possible with charities that I love personally. Normally they're animal welfare charities. That's kind of my remit. You know, the girls have all got their own stories and their own charities they support, so I will support them on those. And then other feel-good programs, campaigns, and bigger worldly issues that I think my contacts can help on a bigger scale. I think for me, that's where my heart lies. And if I can use my skills and my contacts to make the world a better place in a small scale, I will. And that could be awareness, that could be fundraising, that could be events. But, you know, if I could spend my entire day doing charity work, I would. That's the honest reality of it. But then what I have to realize is my day-to-day business with celebrities and brands and all of these opportunities enables me to be able to impact causes in a big way. So it goes hand in hand. But yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, I would love to do more charity work and impact the world on a, you know, on a bigger scale, and actually advise my brands and talent how they can impact charities and causes on a bigger scale. And I do that now. I do it a lot now. But if I could do that 5 days a week for the rest of my life, that would be brilliant.
Oh, well, that's so nice, Charlotte. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you, and thank you so much for coming on to the Yes She Can project. And I think you are living proof that yes, she can.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've loved that. I've just loved chatting, and I'm sure we could chat for hours.
Yeah, definitely. Fellow Scorpios.
Absolutely.
Just but lastly, before we go, where can people find you?
So, I mean, if you want to just have a look overall at the company and my clients and just the roster and a kind of a bit of an overview of the team, you can check out the website, which is bellpr.co.uk. And then Instagram's also a really good kind of daily interactive place to check us out. So our company is at bellpr_, and I'm on Instagram too, Charlotte Bell Tobin PR. So yeah,
fabulous.
Go and have a little browse if you would like, but yeah, everything's on there.
Brilliant. Okay, Charlotte, thank you again, and speak to you soon.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.